The land sustains us. There's an energy, a power, a spirit that comes from the land. It confirms we are of the land. It is our identity. This is the spirit of who we are, why we're in the universe.
The Northern Gathering brought people from Nunavut, the Yukon, all over the Northwest Territories, Northern Saskatchewan, Northern Alberta.
The Northern Gathering was an opportunity to hear Northern voices and bring the narrative that has been building through the Indigenous Circle of Experts on how we can create Indigenous protected and conserved areas in a respectful and meaningful way.
Coming to this gathering here in Yellowknife, it's been very inspirational and moving just to know that so many First Nations across the country are taking that initiative to regain land stewardship. And in my opinion, who better to be the land stewards than the people that were placed there for time immemorial.
You know, for Indigenous peoples, as many others have said, this is about, you know, stewardship and not just rights regarding lands, but also responsibilities.
I think what we've seen to date is a real willingness on the part of all partners that have been involved in this process to move this agenda forward and try and reach our 2020 targets of 17% conservation, but also all of the other sort of qualitative elements that are associated with that around reaching biodiversity targets, around involving communities, involving Indigenous nations. So very excited about this opportunity and think that we're going to see some very good things come out of this over the next few months.
One of the reasons that this initiative is important is that it represents a concerted effort on the part of Indigenous peoples and you know, some non-Indigenous partners to co-create what is known as ethical space for the work to take place within. What we're seeing is something that's framed differently than the way it has been in the past around dialogues on conservation. One of the reasons that it's framed differently is that we have these new undertakings by the federal government as well as some provinces and territories to implement the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, as well as the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's calls to action.
It represents reconciliation and action in a protected areas context. And it has the potential to be a model for future partnerships. We grounded the process in ceremony. We have strong leadership and vision, a shared vision.
This is an opportunity for Indigenous people to contribute from the ground up of what an Indigenous conserved area can be, not only for benefiting biodiversity, which is part of the reason why we've gathered this group together, but also to ensure that these places can contribute to cultural continuity, to continue the linkage of Indigenous people to their territory, to help strengthen and continue their culture on the ground, and for them to utilize that opportunity to not only protect their lands, but protect their future, protect the traditional economy, as a result of being able to continue to have influence and control over the management and protection of lands that they've managed for forever.
Being on the land in the Dene way will protect the land. And it's just that basic recognition and understanding that if Indigenous cultures can continue to thrive into the future, then you're doing something right. Because the land is so central to Indigenous cultures that if you have a healthy culture, then the land will be healthy as well.
The framing of our dialogue with this sort of context, this new context for dialogue, means that we have the opportunity to hopefully enter into a conversation where one system is not sort of being imposed over another system, where the oral systems of Indigenous peoples exist in an equitable way to the written systems of Canada.
It is really interesting and is something that will give us a base for the future. So this is not something that is solely for getting to a number in 2020. It's something that is setting the base for the long term, for the future, what is going to happen in the decades after that.
And the desire of Indigenous Canada is to take back the responsibilities and be a productive partner in the Federation of Canada. And that was the spirit and intent of the treaties, and of all these years of very negative and destructive relationship we had with settler societies through their governments. The Indigenous people still have the desire to honor those treaties and to honor the spirit and intent of those treaties, where we agreed to share the lands and resources and the responsibility and the benefits from those lands.
You know, if we take care of the land in return will take care of us. And it's just been that, you know, the harmony, the balance between, you know, Dene and First Nations. It's just that relationship with the land.
Our forefathers signed a treaty or made a treaty with the Crown, and they told the Crown, we're going to share the land with you, but there's going to be a joint relationship. We need to teach our young people about that and how important it is to keep that relationship with the land so that we can also maintain a relationship with Canada and how we're going to fit together. So we need to take two worlds and somehow put them together so that the young people can be proud about who they are as Aboriginal people and as Dene people, and then be able to participate in the modern society. All of us know that when we are on the land, when we're out hunting, we're connecting to the trees and the willows and the birds and the ducks and the animals. We feel an incredible sense of well-being, that we are part of the universe. We belong, and we have infinite power.